Russian Defense Minister warns of risk of military conflict with NATO in next decade. Russian Defense Minister Andrey Belousov warned on December 16th of the possibility of a direct military conflict between Russia and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, within the next decade. He stressed that Moscow must be prepared to face this risk, while criticizing the West for escalating regional tensions. Speaking at a meeting of senior defense officials in Moscow, chaired by Russian President Vladimir Putin, Mr. Belousov said that the Russian military had accomplished many tasks over the past year, especially in the special military operation in Ukraine and other regions. He affirmed that these achievements were made despite a tense struggle with the collective West. However, the Russian defense minister also warned that tensions between Moscow and the United States and its NATO allies continue to increase and expand. In this context, the Russian Defense Ministry has identified an important goal of ensuring readiness to respond to any situation in the medium term, including the risk of direct military conflict with NATO in Europe in the next decade. According to Mr. Belousov, the cause of this potential conflict will be the actions of NATO under the leadership of the United States, not Moscow. He said that this was clearly expressed in the decisions of the NATO summit held in July, as well as reflected in the strategic documents of the United States and other NATO members. Minister Belousov noted in particular that NATO is implementing a new combat readiness system, which will allow the military bloc to quickly mobilize forces to Russia's western borders. Specifically, NATO can deploy 100,000 troops within 10 days, 300,000 troops within a month, and up to 800,000 troops within 180 days. This, according to Mr. Belousov, poses a serious threat to Russia's national security. Also at this meeting, Russian President Vladimir Putin made strong statements criticizing the strategy of the U.S. and its Western allies in weakening Russia. He accused Washington of providing weapons, finance, military advisors, and mercenaries to Ukraine to fight against Moscow. President Putin said that this was part of a deliberate effort by the U.S. to push Russia to the red line. He also accused the West of using Moscow's response as a tool to threaten their people and provoke further escalation. Earlier, in a joint statement at the NATO summit in Washington, member states pledged to continue supporting Ukraine while accusing Russia of fundamentally restructuring Euro-Atlantic security. NATO also officially considered Russia to be the most serious and direct threat to the bloc's security. Minister Belousov stressed that Russia will continue to improve its defense capabilities and is ready to respond to any provocations from NATO. He affirmed that Moscow does not want conflict, but will not stand still in the face of threats from the West. Currently, NATO and Western countries have not made any official response to the above statements of Russian leaders. However, the warning from Defense Minister Belousov has increased concerns about the risk of escalating tensions between Russia and the West in the coming time. The prospect of a direct military confrontation between Russia and NATO, if it occurs, would have unpredictable consequences not only for Europe, but also for the global security situation.